Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome, all my little sex hounds. I hope you are having an enjoyable week. I know on the East Coast the weather is great, so hope having a lot of sex while you're at it. We are going into spring. We are technically in spring, and some of the trees are blooming. Absolutely beautiful. All the buds coming out. Happy to see it. But with warm weather and feeling good and letting loose comes like that physical attraction and sex all around. So let's get started. Now, play today, and when I was looking into this, I'm picking one in particular, which is flogging. When I brought it up, it was just hysterical because the word thud came up. T-H-U-D. And believe it or not, most of the time, as if it's a big noise, someone banging their head or falling down, you make a big thud and a noise. Or sexually, when you're in the bed and you're banging hard and the bed is hitting the walls, making a giant thud, or you're banging your meat up against the wall, you're making thud noises. However, thud does actually stand for something, particularly, and when you look into the dictionary, the Urban Dictionary, this is what they actually give as a definition of thud: when sexually aroused. When you guys get erect, the blood fills the shaft and the penis becomes erect and firm. You know that. Not telling you anything new. The Cowper's gland kicks into gear, producing clear fluid that trickles from the end of the tip. The clear fluid, that you pre-ejaculate out, you know that. And obviously, it's making a wet spot in your shorts, or just dribbling off and down the side of your lovely member. What happens behind that is determined by the situation at hand. No pun intended. He has achieved a thoroughly hard, upright, it says another word, dick, but it's penis, thud. It's when basically the blood rushes in, and what it does and sounds when this happens, when you and obviously different definitions, but we are actually looking for the sexual definition. This is funny because in the dictionary, thumping, and I like how they try and, define it where it is proper to thump. So it's funny. And it's an advanced version of pounding lovely. A form of highly aggressive, slow-paced sex where you must thrust as hard as you can while pulling her, this or him, towards you in one motion. And it also says that you must only thump once every 3 seconds. If it's done quicker, your partner, mainly the female, will be in extreme amount of pain and will be unable to walk. I don't think that when you're thumping someone, you're actually thinking about that. You actually like that because it shows it's like almost like a trophy to make you feel like, yeah, I was good in bed. I rode her good or whatever. And it's too funny that they even define it that way. And they go on to say that thumping is usually performed after having sex at your peak level of speed. So apparently you're supposed to do it at different speeds. Heaven only knows. I don't think when you're in the middle of sex and you are thumping your partner that you're actually thinking about the seconds and the time it needed to actually do it. But they do give another definition of it, sexually, of course. And this is in the Urban Dictionary. Taking your hard cock, oh God, and smacking your woman or man if you are a pole smoker on the forehead. This is actually, if you research it online, it is in the dictionary this way, the Urban Dictionary. I am like so totally amazed that it actually says this, and it just makes me laugh at what they would put in, and define and how they go about defining it. Obviously, if you are saying, I'm going to thump, get my thump on or something, it obviously has to do with sex and how hard you're, quote unquote, pounding your partner. Interesting enough. I just really thought that you guys would love to have a good laugh. And there are actually other words out there, like synonyms to thumping, which is hysterical. Just get on to Google. It's amazing what you find on there. And there's a whole bunch of words on here you can look into and possibly use and new, and it is extremely funny. I just thought that would be a really good, fun way to get you excited and into the mood while we talk about flogging, which is it's a form of impact sex. And there are ways to do it so you're not hurting your partner, but yet still enjoying having, get that sexual arousal going, and always at the same time, staying in tune to not getting hurt and not hurting your partner while you're at it as well. Now, flogging 101. Where and how to flog? Always a good, believe it or not, there are all kinds of different floggers out there. And if you do say flogger, most people know what it is and all the different shapes, sizes, and forms that are out there that you can buy those kind of toys. It is a form, because it is an impact sex, that SM. So it is, the floggers are really versatile. You use them, a lot of versatility to it in using them, different ranges. And trying to write that, say that all in one way, a little tongue-tied. And there are different impacts where there's various strengths going from light to heavy strokes. So, and there are a lot, if you're new to flogging, obviously the novice, the best and basic area to flog is the upper back. And that's very, cause some injuries to the vertebrae and the tissue, and you don't want that. You want to be able to flog some more. Now, there are other areas that you can flog. Always good to know. Obviously, always do it with a caution. And because every part of the body has a different sensitivity and potential for injury. And this includes your buttocks, because that's usually where you are flogging your partner during sex, be it with a flogger or with just a spanking, the impact of it. So remember that as well. Other areas, the thighs and the breast, you do not want to do that hard. Lightly get a light flogger, and it completely will probably turn on your partner. Now, there's a lot of controversy that goes along with this, and about other areas where you should not flog, but you could always look at that. A lot of people within the BDSM community suggest other areas to flog, so in that it is safe to do it, and generally they actually research beforehand. And if you are novice in first trying this, as always, educate yourself about it and do communicate with the individual that you will be performing this with. So those are very, very... Now, if you are a little hotter or whatever, always just flog the back. But some people like their buttocks flogged hotter. Hey. Now, the basics of flogging is it's really to strike a specific area of the back repeatedly. And it's really doing it accurately. And this helps to allow a build up of like those endorphins and stuff like that, and getting your partner, up there and sexually for a little while. Just trying to put it in different places to send that sensation of endorphins all over. And really finding out, there are gentle floggers out there, and there are bigger floggers. Once you actually get more experience and practice in there to go forward with, obviously, talking with your partner, where it comes the communication, and finding out what, if they've had experience with it, or you may have had experience with it, and you can talk to your partner about it. And you have to get to a point where you're both comfortable in with it, and what you both want and how you want to perform the impact sex of flogging. And remember that there's always a smart way and a safe way to approach any flogger or any type of impact sex. Obviously, you are exploring in the beginning. Always stop, and you can play with the levels of softness and hardness. Hard, light. And that's a sexual turn on right there. And when you are hitting, obviously, taking your hand and after hitting, say, your partner's buttocks, stroking it so that feeling isn't so, you're being stung with that. We really don't want anybody hurt. And there's always a time limit in between, so give a little bit of time there. Generally 3 seconds is really good, and that's in between each little stroke of the flogger. And it gives your partner time to react to those strokes. And then if also to decide if this is what is a turn on, or if it is just, pain to them. And please, if they do say it is painful to them, please stop. Very, very important to hear your partner. And also knowing each other's expectations of impact sex with flogging. This way, you'll know what to be looking for in a sense. And know not to go beyond that. I mean, if you both are going in and you're just trying something a little bit in there, well, talk and see how they feel about it. The expectation is just trying, experiencing it, seeing how it would feel.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back, after our first break. And if you noticed, I didn't say go get a drink or a snack, but I hope you did. And we are going to start out this segment with that sexual position. And I picked for you today the seated wheelbarrow. Now, we all know what the wheelbarrow is, and doing it in a seated position sexually is a little maneuvering in there. So, you start off with your partner who is going to sit on the edge of a bed or a chair. And then you position yourself so that your butt is in your partner's lap. Now that sounds weird. And then you put your hands on the floor. So basically you are straddling your partner as they're sitting backwards, because you're going to support yourself with your hands on the floor. And you probably get a few workouts in there. Then you're going to take your legs and stretch them out behind their waist. So, like I said, you are a bit of straddling, and partner, you need to really help here by supporting their thighs. Make it that much easier to pump away and get your thumping on. Now, the reason you might want to do this position is it actually allows for deep penetration. And like I said, you'll also get your arms a good workout. It's always good to do some workout on other parts of the body as well. You can try by rhythmically squeezing, and this is a woman, obviously. As a female, take in your pelvic muscles and showing how those Kegel exercises actually have paid off. So, squeezing them rhythmically And this actually helps both of you to reach one heck of a strong orgasm. This is what you actually will want and why you're having sex in the first place. You want to feel that orgasm. So, now back on to our flogging. Our little impact sex there. And we were like talking about when you're starting in and having that safety word and knowing the expectations, basically educating yourself, obviously communicating, knowing what your expectations are from both of you when you're going to start flogging. It is an impact sex, a form of an impact sex, which does fall under the BDSM. So please, 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 please do your research. Now, they always say that it's best to start any sexual scene, impact sex or not, really just warm up, do some foreplay, get in the mood, out of play, get your partner going, get both of you going, because it gets your body already in there, and it helps to introduce, or at least get your mind and your body ready or familiar, as we might say, to some type of pains that you may or may not feel. So it's very similar to basically, how you have to work out before when you go for your workout, you have to warm up first. You're getting your muscles warmed up and everything like that, so they're not going to be basically shocked. So basically, and you usually start before you even run with a little bit of a walk, and then you start getting into the beat of that walk, and then boom, you're at a stride of running. Same aspect, same way of looking at it. So this is, you don't want to shock your partner's body or have your partner shock your body into an extreme where it's not ready, because it will not be healthy for you or your partner, and it'll be very painful. So, and really, by this meaning, when you're warming up, start with some, a few light strokes in there with a little flogger. Have different levels of floggers too, as well, because if you want to move it up a little at one time, start with the little one, get, the lightness and get them filled in, get the feeling, get in the groove of it, and then moving on, to a little bit more firmer. And then maybe at one point try a little hardness and then go back down again. You're playing with different extremes. And they're really good because it's a way of warming up, just like when you're going to work out. Very, very good. But you can also start with some good old foreplay in there. It's almost like flogging foreplay. How's that sound? Obviously, the main goal is to basically strike your flogger exactly where you intend to strike, to go, to be, basically. Obviously, practice on other things before you try it out on your partner. They may just want to sit there and watch you, flog a pillow, and learning and listening to the sound as you're actually hitting the pillow. It also helps if you, covering an area with a towel to practice and this is to practice your aim and accuracy, and this also improves your skills at flogging. You also have to improve the experience of your partner as well. And that's who is receiving the flogging. So remember that. Now, there are two basic techniques to flogging, and they're either single stroke or cyclic flogging. Now, single stroke flogging focuses on one single stroke at a time. As soon as the strands fall after a stroke, you can prepare for the next stroke. So you're basically applying that first strike. And then, like, as you hear all of the leather strips, depending on what kind of flogger you have, hitting, and then you come back to do it again. You're basically paying attention. And cyclic flogging is a series of strokes that flow into the next stroke and continuing the momentum, creating a more rhythmic pattern. So everything has a rhythm, which makes it always easier if there's a rhythm there, because if we're all sitting there, and if you ever sat down in a crowded area, or just say you're sitting down to have tea. Most people drink coffee. Tea is my favorite, but and then you're starting to listen to the sounds around you and how they're making that rhythmic togetherness. Basically the same thing. So, just remember that there are those two basics. To look into them and make sure that you and your partner are ready. Now, there are areas to flog lightly. Well, talking about a play on words here. Too funny. But for those that, of you that do not just want to stick to flogging only the back, there are some other areas that you could proceed to, like I was explaining in the first segment of the show. And let's discuss them. Now, the areas you can proceed highly with caution are the lower legs, the breasts, the genitals, the arms, upper shoulders. And this is for reasons of accuracy. Also, ribs, where they're not protected by muscles. Okay, so we do have tender spaces there. The muscular ridge on both sides of the spine, again, for reasons of accuracy. And then the top of the buttocks near the spine. Now, there are a lot of areas there are areas to avoid, and obviously this is at all times, and obviously it is for safety purposes. Never flog the face, the head, the neck, the fingers, toes, or over skin that is still healing from previous flogging expeditions in the sexual bed. Because if you have done this before, obviously you have upped your game. But do not continue to, it's almost like if you have an open wound and it scabs over and you pick it again, it's never really going to heal because you keep picking it. Same thing here. The feet and the hands, obviously, because our hands and our feet contain like many tiny little bones, and they don't really heal once they're broken. They're much more difficult. We don't flog those. Okay, so avoid those. Thank you. Now, when it comes to flogging, there is something called wrapping. Now, it is defined, or it is spoke about as wrapping is really something to avoid at all times. And this is often considered a rookie mistake in beginner floggers. And wrapping is when the tips of the tails wrap around the curved part of the body. Basically legs and the buttocks. Obviously, positioning and accuracy is not there. The tails of the flogger can gain speed and force as they wrap around. It's almost like taking a towel and rat-tailing it. That is where the flogger and what it this does. So you don't want to have wrapping occur. Not very good. Again, it's, when the tips of the tails wrap around a curved part of the body. The tails of the flogger can gain that speed. You do not want that. There is a force that comes with that speed when in motion, and we all know what that is. They wrap around that body, and it will cause really not wanted pain, very unwanted pain, and we don't want to do that. And it does leave marks when that happens. It is recommended really to avoid wrapping the ends of the flogger, and remember that. Ideally with flogging, you want to pick the spot where you want to flog to go and aim the tips of the flogger there. Obviously, time and practice is always needed. You gain experience through practice, and it helps to avoid wrapping. Again, trying it on a pillow, you're listening to the sound, you're watching it where it hits, all of that. You don't want to leave marks like that on your partner. It might be very difficult for them to heal. Also, another thing what comes with wrapping, in reasoning to avoid it, because you can actually hit the kidneys, or you're striking real sensitive nerves, which you can damage on your partner, and you don't want that, because that will be long-term pain and problems, and we don't want that. We want to be happy. So on that note, we are going to take a break here, and when we return, we'll continue with flogging. So if you want to replenish your drink or your snack, go for it, or get one if you never got it in the first place. But always remain comfortable and continue on with what you are doing, with or without your hands. And I will meet you back here for more sex talk with Andra after the break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back. Hope you are comfortable, because our topic is flogging, impacts sex. A little bit of pain, a little bit of loving, but knowing how to do it correct is all about what we are doing here. And we were, when we left off before the break, we were talking about, not areas not to, flog, and try to avoid wrapping, which is where the ends of the flogger wrap around and they will sting, will bruise, will damage. Very, very, very important. Do not do that. Obviously, for added safety, if they're in the middle of it that you break the skin, please immediately apply first aid to that area. Do not continue, please, until that is taken care of. And if any blood or them off, dry off. And also do this while wearing some gloves to protect yourself as well as your partner. And this is to, avoid getting any of this on there, because there's bacteria in it. And you know that. I don't think I need to tell you that. Just being careful. Now, aftercare is very, very important when it comes to any BDSM, impact, sex, flogging, whatever you call it. They're all underneath that one blanket. Really take the time and care for your partner after, addressing like any pains that they may have physically, emotionally, any marks that had been inflicted during the flogging, and really, believe it or not, really good. If no broken skin and everything is doing good, Aftercare is a really beautiful, soft, and caring rub-down massage of your partner's whole entire body, which also will probably bring them down and finish it out their orgasm as well. You can put some lotion, some oils, ointments, anything that's going to help in healing and in that process. This overall really shows that you are responsible and you appreciate your partner for being submissive and, at least trying it with you, or if you have been at it for a while, what it is meant between the two of you. And I don't think that needs to be explained, because that's all what it is about, and is being one with each other, the caring, consideration, that educating, that communicating, that consent, that safety word, everything wrapped up, that loving touch, everything is very, very important. Now, responsible, accurate, and safe flogging requires, obviously, just reiterating the practice, the research, the communication with your partner or partners. You may have more than one. Who am I to say? Or anyone else who is experienced with it and really having and being comfortable with flogging. Flogging is really overall meant to be erotic and arousing, but can be dangerous. So really enjoy with caution and consideration of your partner and the safety and preparation. It is all in the preparation in the education to make it come together and be an enjoyable experience for both you and the partner receiving, on the receiving end of it. So remember that, very, very important to do. And It's just being there. If you are having a bad day or something like that, and you're getting out those aggressions through sex, do not go into flogging, because you may inadvertently take that built up aggravation that you do have, and it may come out in the flogging. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. We all have good and bad days, and everything we do kind of sort of goes in with that. So now this is basically a beginner's guide. I mean, I know I touched on a lot of this, but there are some other things that you can do as well. And it's funny because the easiest way to explain it, I probably used bigger words in the beginning, but just really, if you want to know how to, if you're really trying to figure out how to experience this, or what it is, or what it's going to feel like, or whatever is your goal with flogging, you can always look at, have you ever had a partner palm your bum during sex, or your buttocks, or really teasingly whip your hip with the towel, which is rat tailing, like I said. That is overall impact play. Not even if you're not really actually having that thought process in there, you're thinking that's just funny, but that rat tailing actually hurts if not done properly, which technically you shouldn't be doing rat tailing, because the whole goal of it is to instill a sting from the end of that towel, or whatever you picked up to use, cloth, towel. Usually it's a towel in this after bath, a steamy shower. And that's where generally if you think, you're sitting here and you're thinking about it, but you're intrigued about the overall flogging and how you'll be sexually aroused. And that's what we do as human beings. We start to try and imagine, and as you're imagining, all of a sudden you're becoming sexually aroused. And now you want to try that little bit of kinkiness. You've got your curiosity in there. It's all well and good, but this is not something that you're just going to take head on. It's very, very important to, educate yourself about it, because you are inflicting some form of pain through impact of whatever it is you are using. It could be very kinky at times, because that's the whole idea of it. But impact play is really any practice that involves one person receiving impact. It could be being spanked, punched, whipped, or flogged, and this is by another person. I know there are a lot of things out there now, a lot of machines that kind of do that stuff for you. I wouldn't recommend it. You have more control over if a person is doing it. I would hope to believe that would be true. Let's put it that way in the matter. And this is all really, what did you want? You want gratification from it. It's pleasure-based. So it's kinky. It is with every type of sexual partnership, encounter that you have. And really that gratification can be just explicitly, sexual. It doesn't have to be anything else. remember that. And it's out there. Now, I know I had mentioned earlier about thudding. Now, thuddy versus stingy play comes in with this. And both are the implement used and the person behind the implement doiling. I love the way they write this. Said impact will greatly affect the way that impact feels. And that's where the thuddy and the stinky play comes in. There are a lot of factors that the individual who is receiving with regards to their pain tolerance and, as I said, current stress, those levels play in. You gotta have a degree of hydration, as well as there's weather out there and knowing how that's going to be. There must be some sort of, relationship between the giver and the receiver with it. Now, the sensations of impact play are broken down into these two categories, the thuddy play and the stingy play. Now, how it is explained is the wider the implement and the bigger the area struck, the thuddier the impact. That's the sound. So a paddle is going to create a thuddier impact than a foot, while a foot is going to create a thuddier sensation than a whip. Okay, so I'm sitting here and I can understand the paddle. I can understand the whip. Where in the heck does the foot come from? What, are you sitting there and you're whacking them with your foot? That must make for one interesting sexual encounter. I am just saying. You may like one particular type, or you may like different types, different kinds, and you want to try them at different times as well. Everybody's thought process and feeling and everything when it comes to sexual endeavors is different. Now, I'm still trying, I can understand hands. I'm still trying to figure out the feet. But impact play does incorporate your hands and your feet. There is a wide range of kinky objects, tools, devices that you can use. And believe it, because you know that each tool or device is going to bring either a new sensation or an heightened sensation, more intense. You will find one that is your favorite. If impact play, flogging, thudding, stingy play, whatever, is something that you become interested in. There are impact form of sex that each of you find gratifying, and you really don't look any further than that. It's almost like the missionary position in sex. It is somewhat of a, not a catch-all, but it is that most intimate to some extent, and we all revert to the old missionary position. And a lot of people don't like to sway from that. With that being said, I'm going to take my last break in the show. So completely up to you if you want to get something. Maybe take a bathroom break. But do come back and get relaxed. Or continue on with what you're doing with your hands down your pants. I will, however, meet you back here for the final segment in the show for today. And that is going to be Sex Talk with Andra, where our topic is flogging impact play.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. And welcome back to the final segment in today's show about impact sex, mainly flogging. Very important for you to educate yourself and communicate with your partner. It might be something new that you want to try, and you really need to look into it before you do it, because you can do it wrong and injure your partner, and I don't think that is something that you want to do. It might be something that you've done before your partner and haven't did it in a while and you want to try it again. Same thing applies. You know about it, but bring yourself up to date. Very, very, very important. You're always, if you're enjoying your partner and the sex is good, you always want to try something new and always keep the, sexual bed hopping. Very, very important. And this is either something new or on a sideline and you're bringing it up again. But it's really important, and it's actually normal to have these thoughts and want to try different things, but there comes a lot of preparation. You're just not going to go right into it. Even if you go to somebody who's, who actually you pay to do it. And they do have those, having a dominatrix do it. She or he, whoever it is not, is going to explain it to you. Is going to not put you through like somebody who's been doing it for a while. So do remember that as well. And just when you are doing this or anything that you want to do that involves some sort of impact play, make sure it is done safely. They're the most impact play, which I would say at least 99% of, alright, for those of you who want to, deny it, 95%, have dabbled in it. And just that is like a light spanking of it, or you pick up something and, whack, even if it's like the vibrator, you're using it just to whack it up against your partner's sexual organs or against their butt or something. You are trying, that is a form of impact play. You are trying to get it, your partner as aroused and you aroused to get to that ultimate orgasm. So do remember that. It is very crucial that, believe it or not, there is an acronym that goes along with it, and adhering to this acronym, very, very important when it comes to any impact play. And the acronym is RAC. And what it stands for, it's a principle, RAC principle, and it means risk awareness, consensual kink. Very, very important to oblige by this. And there are some good starting points. Obviously, always go on your own to do your research, and just to, to iterate that, where to strike. Very important. And really, when it comes to impact play, the general rule is the meatier the area, the safer it is to hit. That's why the butt is usually the first place they go for. And when you come down to it, your thighs are a little more meaty. Again, be careful not to whip the flog. Very, very important. However, when you are going into for the genitals or the breast, this is where you are going to go extremely light. And it's anything on the head to avoid, especially the ears. The skull. You don't want to break someone's skull, give them, a concussion or something, because you hit them too hard. And the feet and the hands and things like that, the calves, remember this. Obviously, the tummy and the lower back, also avoid those. Not good to hit. And it's funny because there is a helpful color-coded graphic that is available. And it's to show you where it is okay to hit. And that is actually online, so do look it up. There are risks to be aware of and to mitigate. Obviously, when it comes to certain things, there is always going to be universal rules of where you can and cannot hit, especially in impact play. And those are being, we're discussing those. But when it comes to individuals, they have their own preference, own boundaries, and there are triggers that they also have that actually go into those risk factors as well. And remember that this is a human being that you are initiating and engaging in this impact sex of flogging. It is not a teddy bear. It is, to practice, you're hitting a pillow, but if that's what you want to do and the both of you are getting turned on by watching you just hit the flog up against the pillow, hey, if it works for you, go for it. So remember that as well. And always, big, communicate. Can't say that enough. And there are a few things here that before you play, a couple of negotiations that you should discuss, communicate, things like that. First one is, what do you like your bits called? What names do you like to be called, if any? And this is all finding out about how your partner is going to engage in this. Have you ever had any experience with impact play before? Where do you want to hit? What do you want to be hit with? These are really, really important. How do you feel about marks? If okay, where would you like them, or do you like them to be? Do you bruise easily? Do you have any medical concerns to be aware of? Very, oh my God, very, very, very important. And it might not even be, they could probably tell you no, because they probably didn't even know they had it. But if that is the case, pay careful attention of how your partner reacts, so you can stop and attend to your partner and get them, if need be, medical attention that needs to be sought. Do you have any allergies? Some people are allergic to leather, some people are allergic to latex. It could be feathers, whatever the flogger is made out of, or whatever it is you are going to use. Allergies, big, big thing. And it isn't only just peanuts. Is this going to be sexual for you? It could be. And the reason why this is probably asked is a lot of people, if you are into the play of humiliation and things like that, it might just be some way of you. It may not be sexual. It may be that way of punishment, so to speak. And then maybe later when you're doing it and continued or whatever, it becomes sexual. But at that point in time, it may not be. So please do remember that. As I always say, have safe words or safe cues. Very important. And have it, that these are really good to have, because it allows your partner to know that they've gone beyond those boundaries or those comfort zones or the pain threshold that you have and you're experiencing. Very, very important. Wait doesn't really have to get them to stop. Just say stop. Good old stop means stop. If your partner says stop, do it. There are certain impact play scenes where stop doesn't really actually mean stop. Obviously, if you're putting together some scene where this is going to be an assault or a kidnapping fantasy, obviously stop doesn't mean stop there, but so pick a different word. Okay? If it is stop and they're using stop even in that situation and you hear the distress in their voice, stop. Come on. Have some common sense. Very, very important. You can make up whatever your safe word is. It could be booger. That means stop. If they have to go beyond that to get you to stop, you have gone too far and you are really hurting. Do not engage in it with them again. There's also something that's used which is called the stoplight system. Now, there used to be a game, which I don't even know is still being played now. Red light, green light. And most people know what it is because it's an old game. This is actually similar to that. During the stoplight system that you use during impact play, red signifies stop and care, and yellow signifies slow down. Okay? Remember those. Very, very important. If you have to get to that point, do it. Because if this works, it's very, very important to have these safe words or some system in place with regards to impact play. Safe cues. Obviously, having your partner losing their ability to speak is not really going to happen for the most part, but you really don't know what's going to happen. You may have been having awesome sex, no impact play for years, and you put a little bit of impact play in there, you might have hit a nerve because you hit wrong or flogged wrong. And you might have said something off, and it might just some reason why your partner can't speak. Obviously, there are those moments of sheer pleasurability and bliss, and you become overloaded with sensations. Then you come with establishing a non-verbal safety word. And some of the examples is maybe you tap a part of your body so many times, or you tap an object so many times, maybe the wall, maybe the bedpost, maybe what on the bed. Like in wrestling, 1, 2, 3, you touch the back, putting it in there. It is very, very important. If you don't know how you'll react with a new partner or implement, new kind of toy, you are combining impact play with something like a ball and gag, and that actually will restrict your speech. In the words alone, the ball and gag, you're having difficulty. So you might not want to use that as well. There is a pain scale involved that you need to communicate. And this is really how much impact you can or want to take. And by this, and we are coming to the end of the show, and I will give you one more thing that goes along with, that impact play and the fact that you want to engage in it, and slapping. Now, what is slapping? Usually taking your hand and slapping your partner on the butt, which is usually the one place that you go. Some people like to slap the breasts, but mainly it is on the butt. There are thighs, a little bit of, they want to give you the love tap on the cheeks. Like I said, the breast, the penis, and the pubic mound. Just like with flogging, master your slapping, because that can get out of control as well. And starting light, and every so often, put a little bit higher level of a slap in there. There's also punching and all of that. But this is where the thuddy comes in, that thud, the form of that impact comes in listening. So that with the punching can be very, very dangerous. With that being said, hey, as usual, when I come to the end of the show, what do I say? I say, please practice safe sex. If not for yourself, for your partner, and vice versa, partners. Always, if you are starting something new or going to try a new sexual endeavor with your partner, please educate and communicate, but consent, very, very important. The ECCs. And as always, I thank you very much for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, which is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I do ask that you subscribe to the show and give 5 stars and a good review, because it not only helps me, but it does help the GSMC Podcast Network to know that they are bringing the content that you want to hear. That being said, please also seek us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because we are there. Hit that little thumbs up like, or that little heart to show us some love. But leave a comment. Let us know what you'd like to hear discussed on the show, because it is all about what you want to hear. And with that, hey, have a great sex night or day, wherever you are. And then until next time, bye-bye for now. And I will be back again with more sex talk with Andra. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.